Tony Rizzo, ESPN Cleveland, looking for answers on this 3-10 season for the Browns.
It does not look good right now for Kep. I don't think the Browns are going to fire him. But let's face it, 3-10's on the head coach. He's had a miserable year, really. His team looks undisciplined. He never got him out of the starting gate ready to play. And I could say that whole theme just permeated throughout the whole season. Kev stays, but I'm very frustrated.
Tim, when you had the expectations this did, and playoffs, deep playoffs, AFC championship game type, and you're 3-10 at this point, closer to the first pick overall, I think everything has to go under a microscope. I think how you run training camp, what you do in preseason, how you get ready for the beginning of the season, everything has to be under a microscope.
Yeah, I mean, you can really just look at just how so much of everything really has just come completely apart for the Browns. It really has been kind of a Murphy's Law season where anything that can go wrong has gone wrong. And, just not being ready out of the gate for a tough Cowboys game that obviously the Cowboys are not as good as we all expected they would be. And from there, they just never got it right. The offense never got going with Deshaun Watson. He suffered the ruptured Achilles 7 weeks into the season. They were 1-6 at that point, and the offense just looked broken. And you still see some of those same issues, particularly when it comes to running the football. So really, I think you were talking about with Ashley, the idea of overhauling a coaching staff that didn't necessarily need to be overhauled. The only change you necessarily had to make was moving on from Bill Callahan, and the reason you had to move on from him was because he was going to coach for his son in Tennessee, and there was no way you were going to force him to stick around. So that, in hindsight, was really the only move they had to make on offense as far as the coaching staff goes. Now you got to really, like you said, you got to look at everything. I mean, you're one win ahead of the two worst teams in the NFL right now, the Raiders and the Giants. So, I mean, you look at this offseason, I do think Kevin Stefanski should stick around. I just chalk this up as a bad year, for him and just really for everybody in that building, just one of those years. But you'd only get so many of those, and it's got to point blank got to be better next year.
Well, you mentioned the two-win teams, the Giants and the Raiders. They both beat the Browns. Just as you said that, I happen to think one of those 2 wins for both those teams was the Browns.